So, Stephen Amell had done an interview a year ago with Michael Rosenbaum, and he had talked about projects that he was going to be a part of after playing Oliver Queen in Arrow. And he had talked about getting cast for a wrestling related project and how he was going to have to kind of change his body shape a little bit. And he said that, and despite me being a wrestling fan, it went right over my head. And now we fast forward to present day, and I have just finished watching this show that I've really enjoyed called Heels, which was the wrestling related project he was talking about. And I'm very compelled to discuss this show. And just a bit of backstory. Heels on Starz is actually written by the same man who was the writer for Marvel's Loki on Disney Plus, and I believe he's now going on to do Star Wars. So, a little fun fact for you there. But Heels, and we'll get to the nuts and bolts of this, is a show about a family-owned wrestling promotion in the town of Georgia called the DWL, the Duffy Wrestling League, which can be quite hard to say very, very fast. And it's a family-owned promotion owned by Jack Spade, who is played by Stephen Amell's character right here, and his younger brother works there and wrestles there, Ace Spade. Now, Jack is the eldest of the two. He's quite hardened. He's a little bit set in his ways, but he knows that the promotion needs to grow and it needs to be bigger. But he never left the DWL and went up north like other people do, because that's actually referenced. He always stayed within Georgia. On the other side, you have his younger brother, Ace, who is the hot, up-and-coming babyface that the guys and girls love, and he's got charisma to spare, basically. He is the blue chip, like Randy Orton-like prospect, Shawn Michaels-like prospect, that you can just see it in, and they make it very clear that this is the future of the business, and maybe has an even bigger future in wrestling. But despite all of that, he's quite self-destructive, he's very wayward, and he exhibits self-limiting behaviors where, whilst he is a babyface within the promotion, he doesn't necessarily come across as the nicest of people in real life. It's actually very similar to, and yes, he does look like Edge a bit, it's very similar to Randy Orton in the early 2000s. If you ever heard any of the stories about Randy Orton around that time, I draw a comparison to that, and it's very fascinating to watch that. And of course, as the story unravels, we find out that there are reasons as to why both Jack and Ace are the way they are, and why they are the way they are towards each other. Now, of course, fun little fact for you, we all know that Stephen Amell has a connection with wrestling. He, as you can see, he's been involved with the WWE. He wrestled at SummerSlam with Neville. He's also got a relationship with the guys in AEW. He did some matches for Ring of Honor, so we know that. And he wrestled at the, was it Double or Nothing, or the first AEW event before it became a full-time promotion. I can't remember the name of the show off the top of my head. But another fun fact for you is that Alexander Ludwig, who you can see here, a very young prepubescent Alexander Ludwig, might I add, had starred in a film with none other than The Rock, who looks very, very different in that picture to me. So it's a funny little connection there between the lead actors and pro wrestling. And of course, if you've heard interviews, Alexander Ludwig has also he's done a show with Edge. He's been in Vikings with Edge, and I believe that Edge kind of helped educate him as to how to construct this character. So this show, and as you can see here, this show has very interesting supporting characters, as you can see in this image right now. And for me, one of the interesting things about this show is that everybody there within the promotion and outside the promotion has this feeling and this aspiration that they could do more, and that they could be more, and that they could be bigger. And it's very interesting to have that parallel between the individuals who want to be more and the promotion that needs to be more. And it's this interesting back and forth between the two, in my opinion. And you have interesting characters like James Harrison Jr., of course, from the NFL, who was a linebacker for the Steelers. And of course, you shouldn't be surprised that I know that because I do have American relatives, who is quite a charismatic character in this show. You have the character of Bobby, who is a very real-life babyface, very likable, salt of the earth country boy. You know, he rings his parents up after his first match just to tell them he's in his first match. I hope I've made you proud. He's a very likable character, like completely harmless, which makes you wonder what he's doing in wrestling. You have his teammate next to him who semi-retires, because as you know, there are no retirements in wrestling, but eventually makes his way back in a cameo with CM Punk, of all people. Then you have Rooster right next to the female character there, who has been in the promotion for a very long time and aspires to be more and wants to be more, but never quite gets the push that he feels he should have. And it's just this very interesting theme that all the characters there feel like they want to be more. And there was a critique of the show that I read online, and it was like, oh, well, the show feels very, very dated. And, you know, I don't know what time this is set in. And I actually think that that is deliberate to, A, be reflective of being in a small town where you hear, if you're raised in a small town, you either stay here and work locally, or you move on and you go to something bigger and better. And I also think that the reason why it's a little bit dated looking in some regards is that it's reflective of Jack Spade's mindset, because yes, he knows that the promotion, and he's very well aware that they need to grow and they could be bigger, but it's still set in his ways, much like he is. And that's a very interesting parallel I was able to draw from this. Now, one of the other standout characters was played by Kelly Birklund, who is the valet to Ace Spade and on and off casual girlfriend. They have a very physical relationship, and she wants to be more and could be more. And I like the way that they handled her character, because usually characters like this, they sometimes force it. But this was done very organically, and as you watch the show, you realize that she essentially is a bit of a prodigy. She's helping guys with their attire, helping them with their promos, helping them with their finishes, helping them with their selling. It's very obvious that she could be a wrestling star herself, but there's this whole thing where the promotion hasn't evolved. Jack maybe is a little bit set in his ways, and she's wrestling with that. And also the fact that she's in this valet role and the casual girlfriend of Ace Spade, but knows that she could be more and no longer needs to be a creature of comfort. And of course, you have Chris Bauer's character, who's very interesting as well. And he's a famous wrestler within the show from the 80s and 90s who made it very big and went up north, as they say. And he's always gimmicked. He's always the wrestling character, this larger than life megastar. But I want to tell you, without spoiling too much, it's a facade. And I would like to compare him to the Wizard of Oz, where, you know, he's this great big deity, and then you find out that the Wizard of Oz is not this grand, scary, supernatural being, but it's this very vulnerable, broken old man who can't show that side to too many people. And he's very, very interesting to himself. And then you have Alison Loft, who plays Stephen Amell's character's wife. And again, another character who wants to be more than just the loving, staying-at-home wife to Jack Spade. And of course, we know that she's a known singer, and we do get to hear some of that. But you see with her character, and the frustrations and the tensions within the marriage stem partly from the fact that she doesn't know who or what she wants to be other, you know, outside of this identity of being a wrestling wife. And that's a very interesting story that they've told. But for me, one of the strong selling points is the relationship between the two Spade boys and their father, Tom Spade. Now, Tom Spade's treatment of his two children, as we see in flashbacks, shapes and determines why they are the way they are. And it's very interesting to me from a psychological standpoint and sociological standpoint to see a character like Tom Spade there, where he is not so nice to his eldest boy and kind of minimalizes him and he's not so caring and affectionate towards him, and at times is borderline abusive to him, but he's very much keen and favors the younger boy, Ace, and has big dreams for him. And it's very obvious that that relationship that Tom had with Jack influences the way Jack is, not just with Ace, but also with other people. And for me, that was one of the true selling points of this show. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to end it here. Let me know if you plan on watching this. I've really enjoyed this. It's good to have a show about human people going through human emotions, real human relatable characters. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and peace.